Hey everybody, what's up? How's it going? Welcome back to another top 5 video. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 tips for smashing AQA Psych paper 3. Okay, so this is specifically going to be aimed at helping you to prepare for and to sit paper 3, not kind of just general exam or study advice. Okay, alright, let's do it. Number 5, prepare for comparison and essays. I kind of rolled these into one. Okay, so it's very AO3 heavy. There's going to be a lot of evaluation, a lot of essays. Okay, probably 2 or 3 16 markers, and easily the same in terms of 8 markers as well. Okay, so look out for that and be prepared. I'll talk about comparison because paper 3 does often have comparison and comparison essays on it. You've got a selection of typical kind of questions there. So when you're comparing explanations in paper 3, think about it in the same way that you would think about approaches. So you can talk about things like, they're both deterministic or they're both reductionist, and try and say, theory A does this, similarly theory B does this, and to develop it, you could take it a bit further and talk about, okay, they're similar, however, this is actually, I don't know, like genetic determinism, whereas this is environmental determinism, but they both exclude free will. So trying to tease apart, yes, they're similar, but tease apart some of their differences as well. Okay, look out for compare. Number 4 is don't neglect your research methods. Yeah, research methods is going to be on all 3 papers. It's never not appeared on paper 3. Okay, expect it to be there. Probably 8, 10, 12 marks, that kind of range. Okay, so quick rundown of the last few years. Last year, 4 marks each in 3 sections, so 12 marks total. There was a stats testing question. The year before, 12 marks across 2 sections this time, including some stats testing. The year before, 12 marks of it just in issues and debates and a stats test question. And again, the year before that, 7 marks, including a 5-mark stats test question. Okay, so what have we learned? Don't neglect your research methods. Probably going to be a stats test. All right. Number 3, use what you know. So what do I mean by this? Well, paper 3 is synoptic. We used to call it back in the day. So straight from the spec there, the quote at the top, students will be expected to illustrate answers with knowledge and understanding of topics studied elsewhere in the spec. Yeah, so for issues and debates, that is. So my point here is, use what you know. You don't have to learn a ton of new stuff to deal with issues and debates. A few ideas, nature, nurture. Why not talk about twin studies from OCD or any other topic that you're aware of twin studies from? Yeah, use the fact that you've got the monozygotic concordance rates. They're not 100%, so that shows you environment, shows you nurture, but also they're greater than the dizygotic concordance rates, which shows you nature. So they're working together. They're both involved. Yeah, why not use that knowledge? Free will determinism. Use your approaches. Yeah, you'd probably evaluate them using determinism. Why not use them here? Idiographic and normothetic. I think memory is a good example. Talk about the value of case studies. Gender and culture. You've got stuff like paper 1, you've got attachment. You can talk about the strained situation. You can talk about the Van Isendorn meta-analysis and kind of the interpretation of German and Japanese parenting that comes with that study. Schizophrenia, if you study it, you've got all sorts you could do about kind of like culture and gender and the reliability and validity of diagnosis. Reductionism and holism. Similarly, you can use approaches, but any explanations or theories, to be honest, particularly if you're looking at something like schizophrenia or offending, or even, going back to psychopathology, different explanations for mental health at different levels of that reductionism hierarchy. Socially sensitive research, again, attachment could be a good source of ideas, thinking about the implications of Bowlby's research for mothers and fathers, or even the institutionalization research, maybe stigmatizing people that have been orphaned or spent time in care. Social influence is a really good source of examples as well in terms of treatment of participants. All right, so use what you know. Number 2, practice describing the debates is my number 2 tip. Now, what I mean by this is try and get the language right. Yeah, look at some past papers, look at some examiner commentary and what's actually on the mark scheme in terms of the wording. A key issue I find here is that the nature-nurture debate is often described, well, by some people anyway, as being kind of nature versus nurture. It's not that at all anymore, okay? It's about the relative contribution of nature and nurture. It's about the fact that they both influence us, and the debate is about how much of it is nature and how much of it is nurture. Okay, so get that language right. Free will determinism, be prepared for maybe 3 marks of knowledge on free will, using language like, autonomy and being self-determining, having freedom of choice. Yeah, be prepared to elaborate on what free will means. Soft determinism as well is often an area of confusion. So it's acknowledging that there are pressures, there are factors that are shaping or determining our behaviour, but we have some scope to resist or overcome that. Maybe we have kind of a fixed set of choices, but we can choose within that to some extent. So don't get soft determinism confused with other types. Reductionism, holism, practice talking about levels of explanation, and think about, I mentioned that hierarchy of reductionism a minute ago. Think about, what's a higher level or what's a lower level of explanation. So the biological level of reductionism is the lower or the lowest level of explanation. Good phrases to use. Just some thoughts. So talk about the extent to which, whatever it might be, so the extent to which nurture shapes our behaviour. Yeah. So it's not all nurture; it's the extent to which it does, or the extent to which they work together. You can talk about that one side of the debate assumes a certain thing. I wouldn't be saying something like determinism supports the idea that we don't have free will. It's not actively supporting it. It's just assuming that we don't have a free choice. Aligned with is sometimes a useful phrase as well. So again, don't say things like case studies support holism or something like that. Yeah. You're saying that maybe a research methodology that is aligned with the holism end of the debate might be case studies. Okay. Take that with a pinch of salt. Just a few thoughts of just different ways of trying to word it to get it across in a slightly less clumsy way than I often see. Tip number 1. Okay, my top tip is quite a practical one. It is know what you're facing. And what I mean is, know what the paper actually looks and feels like. And I know that sounds a bit silly because you've practiced questions, you've practiced doing some paper 3s, but have you actually done a proper paper 3 where you write it on a separate answer booklet and you have to go through and actually find the topics that you've been taught? I'm sure a lot of students probably won't have actually been through that. So don't let that throw you on the day. Yeah, you've got a paper full of questions for paper 3 and you need to go through and find the topics and only select the option that you've been taught, and one option in each block. Every year I hear of people that have got really confused or really thrown because it's a separate answer booklet to write on, you don't write on the paper, and they tried to answer a mix of questions from different topics. Don't do that. If you do that, so if you answer more than one option in each block, all they're going to do is mark the questions, and just whichever option you've done best in, that will be your mark for that option block, okay? And everything else will be 0, okay? So just don't waste your time, all right? Find the ones you've been taught. All right, okay, I hope that was useful for you guys. That was me discussing my top 5 tips for smashing paper 3. Let me know how you're getting on down in the comments. Good luck with it all. See you in another video. Cheers.